Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over a dozen teams for the Gems of War Smithy Sword event week. So this is the first event week since version 6.6, and we do have that new event mode for all the holidays, specifically this time for Halloween, which is pretty much just use pure color team. I'll be going over teams for that, for the raids that we have going on this week, a weekend, as well as all the other things that we have going on throughout the week. So let's start all the way from the top and go over the world events. The world event this week is restricted specifically to only dwarf. However, there is one caveat worth mentioning, and that of course is the actual metal that we have to use is a attack-based metal. This is the first attack-based metal, I believe, in months. It's actually been quite a while since we've ended up having one that was only skull damage, not spell and skull, but simply only skull. So you do have to kind of build around that for the deeper range. Luckily, you can do Draksmith as of the posting of this video. Draksmith is actually only in the event key drop table. He will be available, hopefully, or should be, for glory sometime soon. They're probably going to fix that in a day or two. But at his current exact moment in time, if you're doing the event, he is only in event keys. So do wait until you can get it for glory, or simply try your luck at event keys if you so choose. Otherwise, I'll just wait for glory. But luckily, he's still perfectly functionable at ultra rare, so simply just getting a copy or two from event keys should be fine if you're just looking to run it. He doesn't need to be maxed or anything, it's just already good to go. Since his ability doesn't really care if he's maxed, he'll get this full amount of skulls regardless if he's ultra rare or mythic. You don't even need to level him or anything if you don't want to. Anyways, as far as weapon, we go with Writhing Staff here. Any kind of weapon that can create skulls, like any of the Doom weapons, even the blue Doom weapon in Soulforge this week, you can simply just go any of like the super foil-y convert into Doom Skull kind of weapons, whatever one you wish to run, they happen to have laying around. Otherwise, Writhing Staff's pretty nice, has Entangle the first slot, ends up doing Scatter in case they have Barrier or anything like that, and also gets to do some Skull Pressure, which is the main reason for it, is that nice little bit amount of skulls to go with the other skulls that you'll be getting off of Draksmith, as you are going to be needing to have that damage pressure. And King Highforge is mostly just here for the 50% mana start to get all the dwarves rolling. As far as a lower variant of this ends up utilizing Mang. Mang, of course, gaining a bunch of attack based on how much armor you tier, so the deeper you go, the better this will scale. Really good for newer players, as you can just Barrier on Brown with any hero class that you has Barrier on Brown that you've gotten to level 40. Titan being a really well-rounded one that is generally going to be one of your better bets early on in the game. Apothecary is here just to feed a bunch of Brown, and in case you get any stats effects, it'll have Cleanse. And Draksmith does the same thing in this team as it does in the other one, where we're pretty much just trying to get as many skulls as we possibly can in order to be able to use our high attack value that we have off of Mang, as well as the medals that are giving us an attack boost on this current world event. As far as our next one, we have a Illithia Faction. A Illithia Faction will be taking place this Tuesday. It is a blue-purple faction. And of course, hero weapon can be anything within factions. So this is a pretty standard Rowan team for the first one, just using our Scale Shield. You can use whatever you want there, just don't block Rowan. For the next team here, we have a very standard High King Iron Gut Zugoff, just as a Thrall Leprechaun base for the mana accumulation. High King Iron Gut for the insta-kill based on its attack, which in Delves is generally going to be 100, and if it's not, it's by the time he gets one Devour, it definitely will be. And Zugoff is here for the insta-kill into Skulls, to be able to use the high attack that you just stole off of High King Iron Gut, since you get to take the attack of anything you Devour, meaning you basically get to take their attack on top of what you already have. Thrall doing standard mana, and Leprechaun with Empower into all the good mana that it normally does. As far as pure faction for this place, it is built primarily around the Illithian Servitor, so this is just an AoE spammer, so it's one of those delves where the main premise is spam your AoE option until you win, and everything else is just support to make sure that it works. In this particular case, you most likely want to go with at least one Illithian Colossus. This ends up stealing a bunch of magic from an enemy, so they do less damage to you, and it also shifts it into life and armor so that it never dies. If you have a 50% score reduction, it should be your first slot whenever you're running this faction. The rest of your team can either be 3 Illithian Servitors, or you can end up going for 1 Hive Mind. As far as what a Hive Mind does, it ends up stealing a bunch of magic from an enemy to be able to go with the tank, so you have 2 different options to do it. And it also ends up shifting that into a random skill on all allies, which you're hoping for magic. And it's one of the main reasons for running it, is just to have a double disable and hope that this thing ends up hitting magic. And if it doesn't, most of the other ones will end up being good. Attack will still give you more skull pressure, HP and armor will keep you alive, and magic is the main one you're looking for, though you have no control over it. However, it does give a little bit extra support as well. It gives all monsters, allies, 2 to a random skill every single time you take an extra turn, and of course your entire team is monster when you're running this faction. But your main premise is just keep spamming Illithian Servitors until you win. Everything else around it is just for survivability. Next up, we have ourselves the Slayer class event. This will be taking place this Thursday. This is also set up so you can count as a pure Zoom team for the Monday event, or not Monday event, but the weekly event objective. So this is a Dawnbringer into Gemhammer. Gemhammer has Empower, so even if we have one of those annoying 100% revive ones, you can simply just keep hammering them down and go from there. And aside from that, it's just a pretty standard run AoE weapon. For the Thursday event, you might want to switch the hero class to a 50% mana start one. Otherwise, you can do it to Slayer or whatever other hero class you want to go gain passive XP towards. And as Slayer, it does count for the weekly objective. Speaking of task coverage, this ends up covering all the rest of the categories they end up needing for quick kill, specifically the Slayer, the Banner, and the hero class, the Banner, and the weapon, all three of which are aligned to the current ones needed for the campaign tasks, and just a standard quick kill Rowan team just to get some damage down while having all the coverage for it. Next up, we have ourselves some Karakoth Raids. This will be taking place this Friday. It'll be restricted specifically to Karakoth, and of course you have to go kill Zugoff each time. Main premise of this is pretty similar as with any raid. You just throw a Mang at the raid boss, gain a bunch of attack, it tears all their armor. You then go and use whatever the raid slayer is. In this case, the raid slayer is the Eldritch Guardian, which you'll also be able to get copies of on this Friday if you happen to not already have it maxed or laying around. And just this ends up one-shotting the Zugoff, essentially. In combination with your Mang, throw down the Eldritch Guardian instead in most situations. And then from there, you do the green slime in order to mana accumulate for purple. This gives you your Eldritch Guardian if you need a second cast of it, as well as most notably, getting your Zugoff to full mana. And then Zugoff just goes and kills, not the Zugoff, unfortunately, because it does have immune to the insta-kill. However, it kills one of the remaining three that your other combo didn't already kill, and the Skull Spam will just kill out the rest. So Zugoff's mostly just here, obviously not to kill the other Zugoff, but more so to kill the other three remaining after the Zugoff has been killed by the Mang raid boss combination. And that's pretty much the main game plan for the weekend event. And then we have a few other ones here that I believe most of these we're going to go just show right now. So let's go do the Obsidian Curse one. So this one is a Obsidian team. Obsidious is currently available in the event key drop table. So as far as what this ends up doing, it is a 4-time stunner. And as far as its usefulness, actually, this might actually be a better one to show in PvP. Let's hope we have something really good here to actually show it on. No. Let's see. I want a good team that we can kind of show this on. Oh, Beatrix. Found it. So Beatrix is one of the main hard counters that you would generally bring out an Obsidious for. Obsidious is generally a troop that you don't build a team... Like, you don't always use an Obsidious for every single one of your teams. The way you use Obsidious is to hard counter something specifically on the opposing team. And one of the more noteworthy... There's two main ones, I would say, in the current state of the game. Though pretty much anything with good traits are underneath that category. But Beatrix and any kind of team that's really set up based on stealthy can be hard countered very well off of having an Obsidious on your team. So the main gimmick of Obsidious is he stuns all enemies every single time he does an extra turn. So stun not only gets rid of all traits, but it also gets rid of Orpheus metal, so they won't be able to cleanse off of that. We can actually check here. It doesn't seem like he has it. However, if they have an Orpheus metal, they will not be able to go and get their passive 10% cleanse roll per Orpheus metal when they are stunned. This will also make it so things like Beatrix won't be able to go and cleanse everything. So this will be really good if the enemy team has a bunch of useful stats effects, or specifically traits that you don't want them having. You can do it with Curse Stun as well, which this team is. It's a Curse Stun composition, so even if they have Impervious, you'll still be able to get rid of all of their very useful traits. Only thing we need to go do now is start getting our mana rolling. Unfortunately, we did not get enough there. We mostly need Marilith to get up, as she is our main mana accumulator, and of course she doesn't want to get up. We'll go do that, and then we can start getting our team rolling once we got our mana accumulator there. And now we can destroy everything from here. So of course we've restunned it, and now we just go kill them based on priority order, which honestly probably should have been Beatrix there, but oh well. We'll start killing everything else out. If we have alignment, we can go for some skull pokes there too, if we so choose. Get a bunch of damage that way. Obviously with rope dart we can go move anything to the front as we so choose. So like right now, let's see, well, this is our next biggest threat. Given that you're about to cast, we'll just kill you out. Do another Marilith, and pretty much one by one, biggest threat by biggest threat, we just start killing them out. We'll get that Beatrix, obviously while it's stunned, not really getting as much value, especially while frozen, so it won't be able to infinite loop us either, since there's no way to cleanse out of it. And hopefully we can just go for one big burst here. It looks like almost enough damage. Yeah, there we go. And let's kill it out that way. But generally, a Obsidious is a very slow build kind of a team, but it's good at hard countering when you need to stun. Because its ability is pretty useless. You're almost never using it for its ability. It's very clunky, doesn't do too much relative to its mana cost. and you're pretty much using him entirely for its 50% score reduction into its stun, primarily its stun, of course, as that's the whole reason why he would ever be put into a team whatsoever. But it's really good as a utility troop if you really need stun to hard counter the enemy team, when something like an elemental stun or another one at a time stunner isn't quite quick enough, whereas Obsidius simply does everything simultaneously. Alright, so our next team here, this one we will go show in Explore 12, which is Strength. So Strength ended up coming out technically today, technically last week. You can get it last week if you got the bigger pass. You can get it this week right now if you have the standard pass. And you'll get it free to play a couple months from now whenever you get it from the RNG drop table that is Vault Keys, whenever they actually get added. So right here, once again, we are in a situation where we have a mana accumulator and I cannot mana accumulate for it. So it's a little unfortunate. I wish you would convert to purple. You literally have the ability that would allow us to instantly win. It would be great if you would cast that ability at some point this battle, please. But anyways, as far as what Strength does, is it gives a bunch of attack to all allies, and then there's 7% chance to gain extra turn for each red gem on the board, which obviously we got there as there was a pretty high amount. Now, if we could just get Marilith rolling, we could actually start playing. Please, cast this thing already. Why is he not casting? He just refuses to cast it. I have never seen him not cast for that long. We're literally going to find... There we go. We just take our mana. Watch, the second I... Watch. I'm going to do this just to see if he will. I'm going to take this purple, and the second I do, he's going to do the convert. Oh, no, he didn't go for it. If nothing else, it's actually a good thing. So right here, we actually have... Oh, wait, no, he took my mana! No, I need that mana. You know what? There's enough reds. We can actually still guarantee red. One nice thing with this combination is Thrall does get that little bit of... when there's 13 plus red, it gets that extra turn, so you can combine that with the other extra turn, which unfortunately we missed there. But basically, we're just using Arc Proxy with the capability of creating additional skulls. So we're casting that out, getting a very unlucky, gosh. But we'll throw this down, get her a nice big burst, and kind of cycling it back again. But Strength still got a little bit of value in there. Obviously, it works kind of similar to Courage and other similar attack buffers, where it's kind of just there to give you a little bit of extra attack, and then it's kind of out of its way. And it gets a little bit of value in there. Overall, not the greatest of things, but for 6 mana costs, it's one of the better ones. Like Emperor was one of those other ones with its random stats effects, or random, not random stats effects, but random stat increases that could end up being useful. And this one is pretty similar, where it's occasionally going to get used. It's very likely to not go into most teams. There might be some kind of red gem creator where it's going to be really, really good to use in the future. Like a team that's creating so many reds that has a lot of excess reds, where you can run like Strength Marilith, a super ultra red troop with like one other hero kind of like supporting down the line or something similar. As it currently stands, it's still good to kind of plop into things here and there. It's not going to really be used that much, but it's one of those ones to kind of keep an eye on if it'll be usable into the future. Anyways, next we have 2 purple teams. One is just literally my standard Guild War purple, just a Thrall, Leprechaun into a Life and Death Weaver. However, I wanted to go show the cheaper one. So, of course, one of the most noteworthy things about this week, as well as technically next week, is we have ourselves the version 6.6 new feature, which is the holiday events. So this will be occurring likely every single major holiday. Possibly it might happen at other times as well. It's like, who knows? Maybe we'll get it for Thanksgiving. Maybe we'll get it for the 8-year anniversary of the game. Obviously, we'll definitely get it for Christmas, so we know that for sure. Like Christmas will probably be like blue restrictions to that. If they do one for Thanksgiving, it could be like a brown one or something similar, or yellow. But basically, it's a purple restriction. You get a bunch of points, you get a bunch of rewards. We covered this in the weekly video. A shorter brief of it is make sure to do your 3 daily battles every single day. The free amount of battles will be enough to get the Power Orb if you care about the achievement. As far as getting all your unique rewards, you want to go and spend at least 50 gems every single day in order to go get 6 total battles, 3 additional ones. So you'd be doing 6 total battles every single day. And that will allow you to go get most of the more important rewards, depending on how you want to focus it down. You just need 1 Carmina, and then go throw a blue orb on it, 5 of the cats, 1 of the armor, and 1 of the orb of power. And if you have some excess, you can go for the other ones, or if you want to throw like a extra 100 here and there to end up getting them as well. They're probably not worth it compared to most of the other ones, but the overall exchange rate, if you are looking for the material, honestly isn't that bad. So worth considering if you're not at the point where you have like near infinite of them. Anyways, this mode is pretty easy towards the lower range. I'm not sure exactly how much it'll scale up to at the higher range. Or if you're really even going to reach the higher range that much, if you're only really doing, this daily 3 or the daily 6, or possibly occasionally the daily 9. Because at that range, you're not really moving up that high in levels for the most part. I guess technically by the end of the event, like the last several days, you might need something a little bit more like this. However, you know, like whatever you run for Guild War, kind of something a little bit bulkier. However, for most of the lower range, at least for this next week, if nothing else, you'll probably want to have something that just AoE spam, just like straight up just AoE spam every single turn and end up winning out that way. So if we end up hitting this here, this is a very cheap accessible team. It's Thrall, Leprechaun, Black Manacle, and Atlanta. Black Manacle you get automatically just from leveling up your hero. Atlanta is the free epic you get from Divinian Fields. Thrall is a really cheap common mana accumulator, and Leprechaun's an ultra rare mana accumulator that's used very commonly, of course, for his Empower. So this is pretty much the team. And we just go throw, it works pretty much like any Leprechaun Thrall teams works, where you go and throw down Leprechaun, you throw down Thrall, you go cast every single damage source you have, and then you win the battle. And that's all you have to do. Cast one, cast the other. If that wasn't enough to win, you cast Thrall again, and you repeat the cycle until they're dead. And that's pretty much all you have to do. It's very quick, very efficient. I guess we could do one more, but you can pretty much get the premise. And it should work for a lot of the lower range. You will eventually need to go and switch into a bit of a deeper one, of course. In that case, we have the Life and Death Weaver one showed for that one, which is literally just what I had for Guild War. And similarly, if you prefer whatever you just run for Purple Guild War, you just simply use that, as is the standard purple restriction. So whatever you're using for Guild War, it does technically transfer over 1-to-1 to this mode. But for that lower range, which for the next several days is going to be the range for it, you do kind of want to stick with a bit of a cheaper, low mana cost, accessible, kind of just like AoE spam kind of team. And everything on it's very easy to get. And then you can end up shifting a little later down the line to something a little bit more tankier to make sure that you don't end up losing. Because if I haven't actually lost yet, but I assume if you lose one of those battles, you lose the entire sigil. So you do not get any points for the battle. I assume that's how that works. It sure seems like that's how it would work. So while that isn't anywhere near an issue at the lower range, obviously, once you start getting deeper, like, you know, to several hundred range, you might need something a little bit bulkier like this in order to make sure you survive and don't end up dying. And this has a lot of survivability. It has the Thrall Leprechaun base, has Life and Death gaining Bless, a bunch of life, really tankable, gets a bunch of summons in front of it. Oh, actually, I'm using the Elementalist version of this. You can use it with Orb Weaver. I guess Elementalist works too. You get Stun, you get Freeze, you get Entangle. Either way, you can end up running it. Really just depends on preference. And of course, Weaver here, getting a bunch of additional summons off a Web Spinner. Ends up getting the web, so they can't do much with their magic. Has a bunch of true damage, has a bunch of explode if it gets a kill. Stealthy, so it doesn't get targeted. Same as Hero, so it doesn't get targeted. Also has... actually, never mind. If we're using Orb Weaver, it would. Actually, this version does not. However, it has Barrier on Brown, so even if it's getting targeted, it's not taking any damage. So still works out either way, depending on how you want to roll it. But anyways, those are all 12 teams for the week, covering absolutely everything from the current events to all the way to the end, all the way at raids going on this weekend. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below, as well as if you want to share any teams of your own for the week. And all dozen of the ones I mentioned will also be in the description below if you want to go and copy paste any of them. Thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to leave a like on the videos. It helps out a lot and is greatly appreciated. I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween later this week. Catch you guys later. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for watching.